Hello and welcome to The Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord. As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time.
All the time.
And we'd like to believe we could meet any demand thrown at us. We will be your screenwriters for this episode. I am TC DeWitz, and joining me, as always, is Jim Tornado Drill Berzelik. Tornado drills, Jim.
Yeah, no, I keep going. They keep going. They don't stop.
When I moved to California, it was a big change up in natural disasters. California has way more natural disasters, turns out. Earthquakes, fires, floods recently, landslides, mudslides, all that. But just growing up with tornadoes.
No tornadoes.
No tornadoes yet. Keyword there. God, tornado drills growing up in the Midwest, being in Wisconsin. Yeah, you hear that tornado alarm on a Saturday afternoon, like second Saturday of every month at like 10 a.m., right? Like, they're just testing the alarm.
I actually thought it was a weekly thing. Like every Wednesday at noon, and it was used as a lunch alarm.
Honestly,
Maybe I'm misremembering how it was explained to me, but I remember it happening quite regularly.
I only remember they test the siren, which is like an air raid siren for those of you who aren't from the Midwest. Like it's like you can hear it for miles around.
Yep.
And it was this rotating.
Ours didn't rotate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The other ones I grew up around me like turned. That's why it created that illusion.
That's why you did the Doppler effect.
Yeah. The Doppler. And then. Yeah, so that'd be like a Saturday after like 10 in the afternoon, like at 10 o'clock. But hearing that go off when the storms were around, that was always like frightening because it was like, wait, a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Someone tell me the difference. I always forget. And then doing the tornado drills in school. In my elementary school, the building was old enough that there was a fallout shelter area in the school with the sign, the 3 triangles, and that's the hallway that we would all hunker down in to do a tornado drill. What were your tornado drill scenarios like?
Identical.
Duck and cover.
It was. We also. I don't remember if we had. I remember that sign in a hallway, but I don't remember if we would get in the hallway or if we would all just go into the cafeteria.
Did your cafeteria have windows?
My elementary school cafeteria. It had one window, and we would sit on the other side of the room from that window. Don't
want glass on you.
Because it was a basement cafeteria.
Okay. Classic Wisconsin.
Because we have basements in the Midwest.
That's another thing. That's the space under your house where you can have a bedroom and an office. Yeah. And the TV room. You were mentioning that you had when you were little, you had storm issue. Like you were afraid of storms.
When I was little, lightning. Scared of lightning, and then once I kind of got over lightning, I was scared of tornadoes. And I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't know if there was any sort of like lightning point at which I got over these things. It was probably just much more gradual. But then I got over tornadoes. Oh God, I hope it didn't happen in just a terrible combination. So when I was in middle school in the 6th grade. I got depressed. I had depression. And it was very sad. But thinking about it, I don't know if I got over storms. I got over the fear of tornadoes at the same time. I didn't care if I lived anymore.
Oh no, Jim, that's so sad. I want lightning to strike me and a tornado to suck me into the sky. Oh no, that's so sad.
But either way, I came out of that. I loved storms. To this day, I love storms. I miss them.
I love storms. Like I fall asleep to a white noise machine, and oftentimes I'll flip it over to the thunderstorm.
Nice.
I just love the sound of it. When it occasionally has actual weather here in Los Angeles, and there's like, I think I've heard it thunder here 3 times in the decade I've lived here. Like I think
I've seen maybe a dozen lightning
Yeah.
lightning strikes.
And I miss it. I see it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was ever afraid of thunderstorms. I did go through a spell where I was afraid of tornadoes because I vividly, core memory of a dream I had looking out my front door and to the right where the big tree was. That's
Mm-hmm.
how we identified it.
Yep.
My brother getting sucked up by a tornado
Oh, no.
in a dream.
Yeah.
And that scared me. So
Yeah.
for a time, I was afraid of Bigfoot and tornadoes.
Oh.
But I always loved thunderstorms. Like, I wish I could have seen a tree get struck by lightning. That would have been like, yes! It would happen like a tree in the neighborhood gets struck by lightning. And I'd be like, man, I missed it. God.
Oh no, I was terrified. It was right. 6, 7 year old Jimmy is who I was at the time. Jimmy was afraid that the lightning was going to strike him.
Oh, man, I probably thought I would give me superpowers. I remember this is in college. I had a car at the time, had a sunroof on it. We had a huge storm rolling in off of Lake Michigan, and I drove all the way down to the lake, right up to the edge of the rocks, and just sat there and watched these like the white capped waves, the storm rolling, and just blasts of lightning. And I was just like, the rain just hammering the car. I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I was terrified.
You seem a little rattled right now.
I'm thinking about storms, and they're terrifying. Yes.
Mm-hmm. See, now I revel in storms. It's the earthquakes that I'm like,
yeah,
fascinated by. When I first came here, I was terrified. I was
like I think I experienced a small one my first week here,
mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's an earthquake. This is nothing.
Well, that's how I felt too. When I first got here, I was afraid of them, and then I felt that first one. I was like, it was like a truck rolled by.
Yeah.
Like, this is what. Now, granted, we haven't had a real earthquake.
It's true. That is true.
In all the time I've lived here, I think there's been a couple of like 5 to 6
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't even near the epicenter for. So while I felt it, it was just like, whoa, the house shifted kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. And there's always the risk of the big one that they've been predicting for my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
I mean, true, it is.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will
Mm-hmm.
happen, and then all those people who are predicting it can say, "Told you it was coming."
Yep.
It came.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get to the episode proper here, Jim. Our listeners have given us demands from studios literally all over the world, and you listening now, you can send us any demand you'd like, and we will have to meet them right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our jobs, we will have pitched a full script or story meeting or exceeding those demands. And when the end of the season comes, your demand could have helped us craft the script that will be greenlit by the fans for our fully produced finale. Thank you, everyone who keeps submitting. Keep them coming. We love you for it. Today's demand, Jim. Tip the hand on it by talking about natural disasters, but we knew what we were getting into here. And I love this. This is honestly why I picked your demand. From The Extreme at Imminent Ruage Studios.
Nice.
Chef's kiss on that.
Beautiful.
Okay, so now, here we go. Twister is easily the best natural disaster movie of all time.
All time.
It led to many attempts to recapture that glory in countless other natural disaster movies. Floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, tornadoes, sharknadoes, geostorms, days after tomorrows, asteroids, moonfalls, and happenings. I'm going to be honest, that's as far as I read into this demand when I selected it, so I don't really know what's coming here. But none can beat the best, and now we're getting another Twister that surely won't live up to the original either. Natural disaster movies are played out. But maybe that's the issue right there. Natural disasters. This is underlined and capitalized. Natural disasters. Many have tried, but few have come close to achieving greatness with unnatural disasters. Why is Roland Emmerich the only one trying and failing at this? What's better than a Twister? How about one created by evil science, or even better, dark magic? My studio demands you play with the elements, play with tornadoes, play with everything else, risk the destruction of the world through whatever unnatural means you see fit. Get weird, fellas, and show Hollywood how to make a disaster movie right. Thank you, The Extreme. Okay, so I knew this was Twister related. I thought it was going to be natural disaster
Oh,
related.
thank you so much, Imminent Ruage.
Okay, unnatural disaster, Jim. So, truth be told, while we've been trying to chase search engine optimization this year, Twister's the next big movie to come out. We wanted to do something, so I pulled out the Twister demands from a few of you, and
But even before looking at them, like because we kind of knew we knew the topic was going to be Twister or natural disaster related.
yeah,
I don't have one in my pocket, right?
neither do I.
Like we have stories that we want to do that relate to this or that. Like in talking about this, you brought up one that me and my friend Dan had put together years ago called "Oh Shit Wasps."
Oh shit! Exclamation point! Wasps.
Yeah, still an amazing concept. He did write that script. Didn't really go anywhere, but that's not natural disasters, and ours isn't just it's a bunch of wasps. Like the wasps are huge and they're terrible, and
Yeah.
they're paranormal, right? It's evil science that does it, but nonetheless, it's beyond real.
It pushes the boundaries of force of nature and,
Yeah.
and moves into creature feature.
Yeah.
I get it.
To that end, actually, I would hope that by the end of this, we will be able to coin a new subgenre: supernatural disaster.
Yes. And now that's not to that they brought up some here. Extreme. You mentioned The Happening, and yeah, Roland Emmerich has done some pretty Moonfall.
Some pretty supernatural disaster
Yeah,
movies.
like Moonfall 2012, where the world just is ending because it's that time. Sharknado's on here. Yeah. All within the vicinity of some elemental natural disaster. But yeah, when Twister came out, I feel like we did get a run like Volcano and Dante's Peak, Daylight, the Stallone movie with the earthquake where everyone's buried underground.
Yep.
There seemed to, and then classic disaster movies going back. Poseidon Adventure was remade the Poseidon Adventure was remade into Poseidon. Kurt Russell, in the early 2000s, Towering Inferno, A Fire in a Building, right? Disaster movies.
Disaster. They kind of come in clump. It's a fad.
Yeah.
It was the 70s. Was right. Towering Inferno. I think Earthquake. Earthquake's always older than I remember it being. The ones you said, and then the 90s, where again with, I don't just want to repeat what you just
Twister wannabes.
said. But to that end, I didn't think Volcano was a Twister wannabe. Like it very much fell in that same category. But Volcano and Dante's Peak were more. They were more how to explain it. They were more a natural disaster happening and people not being ready for it, and we watched an ensemble community have to deal with it. Whereas Twister played around. The way Twister was different was it didn't lead up to like, oh no, it's an F5 tornado. Although a very big tornado did hit in the movie.
Sure.
It wasn't all about that event and the fallout of it, right? It wasn't a single like, we're building up to the perfect funnel, right? I'm saying things we could totally use.
Yeah.
It was about these it was about storm chasers and the storms they chase. And maybe I'm misremembering. Was there like, this is leading up to to something real big?
Well, they're studying tornadoes at the peak season, and it's building up like this. They are getting progressively worse, but it's really more about like, how do we detect them? How do we stop them? How do we survive them? The new one seems to be very similar to that. We can stop a tornado. At least is what the trailer is suggesting.
Yeah. Whereas movies like Volcano and Dante's Peak, Volcano was, this area is ripe for a volcano, and then no one believes it because there isn't one, and then it happens. Dante's Peak was no, it's sure it's a volcano mountain, but it's not going to blow, and then it blows.
Boom.
Like
Yeah.
it's comparable to Twister.
The core. Remember that where the center of the earth
That
stops
starts
spinning.
getting supernatural,
Right. Yeah.
because the core of the Earth's not going to stop spinning.
Oh, it did, and then the birds all fell down. And then the guy hit the table at the very beginning and smashed into the glass.
In the movie, correct?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. No, that was based on real events, Jim.
just like Sunshine.
Great movie. So there's a fine line between a natural disaster movie and a disaster movie, because like
Yeah, there you go.
you're towing that line with something like Armageddon, which is like we have an asteroid coming towards us,
Sure.
and little mini asteroids have been messing things up, and now we got to stop the big one. I think that's in a similar realm, but it's verging into.
Actually, so is imminent ruinage? Are they right? Actually, not, I was clearly I just spent too long saying nah, I don't think so. But now maybe I'm. Was Twister first?
Well, Twister came out in '96, right, and then Armageddon's '98.
Okay.
So just to go from one to the one I was just talking about, Day After Tomorrow, we'll be into the 2000s and so forth. Like Dante's Peak and Volcano, those came out in '97, like the year after Twister. I do think
basically is Twister the Die Hard of disaster movies?
I would have a hard time arguing against it. Even this opening statement, Twister is easily the best disaster movie of all time. I think Twister.
So to that end, right, to make that work, to be that equivalent, the test is pick a movie, Volcano, the Twister. Is Volcano Twister with a volcano?
Right, to use the Die Hard method.
Yeah.
Because Pierce Brosnan is a tornado expert.
That's Dante's Peak.
Oh shit!
Volcano is Tommy Lee Jones in Los Angeles.
Okay, it is.
It's the birth of a new volcano.
Yeah, and they're like suffering the consequences of it.
Yeah.
And like reeling from the disaster of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think it's been too long since I've actually seen these movies, so my memory of them are down to trailer. I have about trailer memory.
You know what? We're gonna say yes.
We're gonna say yes.
Twister's the best one. It's the Die Hard of disaster movies,
or the Jaws of disaster movies, because
Die Hard was the Jaws of action movies,
and Jurassic.
No, it wasn't.
Jurassic Park is the definitive dinosaur movie.
Sure.
Like Sharknado. Okay, Sharknado exists. You're surely, if you are already putting a tornado in someone's head, people are going to think of Twister.
Sure.
Like Twister is, I think you're right, the Die Hard of disaster movies. And everything else is like, how do we do an earthquake? How do we do a volcano? How do we do a flood? Let's do an asteroid. Like, I think it's just built from there. So taking that into account, and now we get to add a super or an unnatural element to it.
Right. Classic way to do it. Easiest way. Yeah. You can just be done here. A wizard did it.
A wizard did it.
Tornado, wizard, tornado, done.
Jim, I hate to rain on your parade. The first episode of The Flash involves a tornado created by the weather wizard.
Oh.
He has a wand that allows him to create tornadoes. So we can't do that.
What? Oh, because WB will sue us?
Yeah.
Okay.
They will send Ezra Miller to our houses and they will beat us up.
Yep.
I hear you ripping off the Flash. It wasn't even your Flash. I am the Flash.
I love going supernatural, and I'm willing to go there. But I would like to address we live in unprecedented times where we could set up a natural disaster movie, and we wouldn't even need to go supernatural, and it can be so freaking over the top.
Right.
Because of the thing half the population doesn't believe is real. Mm-hmm. Global that's not the term anymore. Climate change. Which is it's freaking real, and it's freaking frick.
Jim,
I'm so flippin' mad.
I can remember Christmases with snow, but I can't remember a white Christmas. I mean, I'm in LA, so technically that doesn't count. But I mean, back home in Wisconsin, I feel like there used to be Halloweens where it snowed.
Yep.
I remember a Thanksgiving where we built a 10-foot snowman. Not so much anymore. It is as though, and I'm not saying it did, but it's kind of like the climate changed.
Climate's the same. you changed.
I did get older.
And you moved.
I moved. Yeah, that's why there's no snow here
Yeah.
anymore. I'm in sunny LA. It rained for 3 weeks straight in Los Angeles for the first time in ever
Yeah.
last year. Remember that? We had
I
to
did.
like walk water up to our knees to get food.
Yeah.
There was rivers running through the streets of Los
We
Angeles.
had to walk through rivers uphill. It's
Okay, both ways. Okay, a disaster movie involving weather that is okay. How about this? It's the Titans of Herculean legend that are a storm and an earthquake and snow and but attacking in the modern day. There you go. There's my first spaghetti strand on the wall.
sorry. The very first thing I thought of is there is a series of sketches. One sketch in particular from Mad TV
Oh God.
called "Son of Dolomite." It's the greatest thing in the world. And the evil sheriff steals Son of Dolomite's pimp cane and takes it
This
to
is from what? Kids in the Hall?
Mad TV.
Mad TV. Okay.
Takes it to Planet Pasadena, where Son of Dolomite has to go to get it back and to save his girl. And he goes there, and he has to fight three beings. He has to fight the rock monster, the wind monster,
Okay.
and the fire monster.
Okay, so it's been done.
No, it's just that's what it sounded like you started describing, and I started imagining Will Sasso being the one that summoned them, and it was hilarious.
Well, how do you want
And
to?
Aries Spears is the one who saves the day.
Oh my God. Well, how do you want to attack this? How do you want to? Do you want
Elementals. That is a perfect direction to start.
To, okay.
I don't know if they were Titans, just to start getting nitpicky.
I guess. So the Herculean Titans, right? The I don't know.
We can call them whatever we want. We can say, yeah. They were the Titans. They're from the untold story of when Hercules trapped away the elemental Titans.
Mm-hmm. And they've been unleashed, or like one of them is unleashed, and then the others are thus added. So like
All four, just all four could be unleashed at once.
So it's the list of the Titans. So there's going off of actual Herculean legend. There's more than a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no.
What list are you
Yeah,
looking
the
at?
original Titans include like Poseidon and Kronos, or Prometheus and Kronos, like an Atlas. So not the Titans as a whole account for some of the gods.
Yeah. You were saying the god. Okay, you want to do?
I wasn't intending that,
Oh.
but like looking up, I just like the list of Titans, and the Titans, there's like 12 of them, 12, 13 of them here. And it's like, oh no, that's not what I was Prometheus and Kronos and Atlas. I wouldn't think of them as the elemental Titans.
Sure.
They are just gods, right? Let's see. Maybe I should write elemental Titans. I'm not Googling. This is just how I access things in my.
It's true. This is how he thinks, you guys.
I'm in my dream palace.
Yep.
The primordials.
Primordial.
Primordials are the elemental titans. There you go.
Ah.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking of. And then there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. But that's not here or there. Okay. We're all over the place right here. Let's hone in here. You like the notion of unleashing like an ancient elemental, and then we have a group of scientists trying to stop it?
They could. Sure, it could be.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind would be to copy the plot of Monster Squad.
Okay. Go on. I'm here for it.
Replace Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy with the four elementals, with fire, water,
Earth and
wind.
air. Yeah. Let's actually, there you go. Limit it to those four. Those are our four elementals: earth, wind, fire.
And so now we have a cast of scientists that are like, what is going on with nature? It's crazy. This is beyond climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they end up having to team up with a small band of magical practitioners that know what's really going on
A
here.
bit Armageddon-esque to
Uh,
match up two unlikely schools of work.
Well, the difference though is in Armageddon, it was, oh, these oil rig guys they're just going to replace the astronauts,
Mm-hmm.
whereas this would be them working
It's a
together.
work together.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
it's not scientists replacing wizards or
So
wizards replacing scientists.
so scientists detect there's anomalies, natural anomalies. Earth, wind, fire, and water are acting funky, and they can't explain it. And essentially, a some sort of occult wizard, Giles from Buffy, shows up and is like, "I can explain this." It is an ancient elemental that has been unleashed onto the earth. Okay, wacky wizard man, it's magic. And then
And
yes.
then when they go to like a firestorm, they actually see a being walking through the fire,
Mm-hmm.
spreading it further.
A bit like it's always worth acknowledging because I'm sure at least one person is going, that's a bit like such and such.
Probably.
uh, Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home, where Mysterio is taking care of like
Sure.
elemental threats that are all,
Except real.
except they're real this time.
Yeah. Um, what am I thinking? I'm trying to think of the plot and the reason because that gives us direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, sometimes
I go,
sometimes the best way to attack this is to start with the villains, like actually figure out motives for the bad guys and all this, and then build from there.
so I want to kind of follow disaster movies
Okay.
the way they work,
Yeah, yeah.
which they're for the most part villainless.
Mm.
Right, that's what's going to make this hard because if we're actually embodying the disasters as beings,
Yeah.
Those are kind of the I guess sort of your brute villains. There, it's not like there's like, oh, they lost their rocking horse when they were kids, and if we just get them the rocking horse, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is. Maybe that's the direction we got to go. My initial thought is to go, crap. This starts to feel a little. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to have a good guy that becomes this,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit Captain Planet. Because again, I do believe in climate change,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if we were to do a natural disaster movie to not address it
Mm-hmm.
feels
We did this to ourselves.
kind of. But to bring in the supernatural element, what I want to highlight is right. So the things that are being done to the environment, it can take it. Nothing's happening. This is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal. And what's happening is nature is getting more and more out of whack, and the elementals have been put to sleep. They were put to sleep hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Some ancient hero of the past.
and there is no to this day there is a sect of priests.
Mm-hmm.
The generic term of priest, not like any particular group, that actually. Maybe.
Druids.
There's a really fun. No, that feels like cultural appropriation. I don't want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was thinking about I learned a really cool legend, I guess, or I'm not sure, a belief
Mm-hmm.
of the Aboriginal people in Australia from the show Leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think it was Leftovers, and it was there's a group, there's religious belief that someone has to always be singing this particular song, and if that song ever stops being sung, the world will end.
Okay.
And I believe in Leftovers, a character goes to Australia to learn that song to continue it,
Hmm.
and hijinks ensue in that show. So the idea of um, there's a group of monks, priests, people who sing, who lullaby the elementals to sleep, and they're getting more and more restless
Hmm.
as environmental damage is happening,
Okay.
and rather maybe rather than putting it at the just saying, and then it just became too much and they woke up.
Hmm.
Maybe something happens to, maybe that group is down to like 5 people,
Hmm.
and maybe something happens to whoever's quote unquote on duty,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And they're no longer able to keep the elementals asleep,
Hmm.
and so they wake up and they are not happy. A, having been put to sleep. B, with what's been happening to their
Their
realms,
their world. Yeah.
or once they wake up, what has been done to them, and maybe that's why, like before, it was we need to keep them asleep so that man can tame nature and grow
Hmm.
and prosper, but it grew to a point where now the things we're doing to them, even in their sleep, the elementals were becoming corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
So when they wake up, they are now corrupt elementals.
I like this. I want to make a suggestion here. Oh,
I
go ahead.
also realized this story arc,
Hmm.
this motivation, touches very much on the Godzilla versus King Kong world in the story.
Sure. Two more natural disasters.
It's true.
Yeah. Uh, what do you feel about having the elementals separated to the four corners of the earth, and we start with one of them waking up and then seeking out their brethren? So, like for example, if I like this idea of the Aboriginal singing to keep the one of the elementals at bay, and they fail, and uh, wind is woken up, and now we have this goddess who's pissed off, and it's like, look at what you've done to the earth. I need to find the three others.
Okay.
We could have fire has been in the polar ice caps, and that has been dwindling away. So fire was on their way out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Earth could be, like just finding.
Yeah, yeah.
So then we have like impending doom coming from multiple places. That's just a way to like spread this out worldwide, as opposed to starting in one singular location and spreading out by making this a global catastrophe. That there are, yeah, it could, yeah. There's my pitch. Like, what do you think about letting this come? Looking at something like Armageddon for a disaster movie, or Independence Day,
Mm-hmm.
there's multiple stories happening around the world that all
Sure.
culminate in the end. I know that's moving a bit away from natural disaster movies, but spreading it out as opposed to isolating it and building from there.
I see what you're saying. There is no reason that they couldn't all be asleep in one area, and
Mm-hmm.
when they awaken, they are not going to be beings that are necessarily contained by space.
Mm-hmm.
So, like once they're awake, it'd be more like, now imagine them like 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 almost like a vanish spell, like a cloud of smoke. They dissipate into the atmosphere or into the world,
Mm-hmm.
and they see what's become of the world all at once,
Mm-hmm.
and they get angry and they start attacking certain spots,
Various
right?
locations.
Like awaken all disasters all at once, kind of
I
thing.
see. Yeah, having them awake and spread out. Cool. I
Um,
can dig on that. I would like them to be personified, and to not just be some nebulous smoke. I would like to see them take form, so that we have something humanoid that we can put a face to, a voice to, and potentially punch. You had suggested that these movies tend to be villainless, and more, it is just a force of nature that you can't. It's too much to harness
yeah,
into a singular thing. I would like to make the argument that we should give them form, or at least one of them some sort of form. I don't know. I just think
you,
that,
you want to punch. You want to punch a bad guy.
yeah, yeah.
I'd rather.
Because
I'd rather. As far as defeating it, I'd rather bottle a
okay,
genie I
Yeah.
think, than
You're actually touching on a fun idea as well, that
um,
in the ancient times that they would have been jinn, like
sure.
misunderstood as jinn, and that they were even having a character going like we were let the
Mm,
genie out of the bottle.
yeah, we could.
But the reason I want to give them a physical form is how else do we defeat these things?
We survive it.
We survive it, but like, how do we come out of it? Like, what's not to go all the way to the end here?
What tempers their anger?
Yeah, what gets it to the point where or do we just lose? Is this going to be a scenario where there is no, like, in the end we just have to let nature have the planet back and we're
Well,
screwed?
I didn't get to see Moonfall. How did Moonfall resolve? That had
Oh God.
an identifiable villainous entity, right?
I had not enough fun with that movie because I didn't get to see it with you.
Ah,
It would have been an ambulance scenario if we were able to. So the way
right. So thinking about
let
Twister.
me answer.
Oh, okay, sure.
Moonfall, turns out the moon is constructed by aliens and actually is an ancient mechanism that you can fly, and they reactivate it from its core
Yeah.
and move it away from Earth.
Okay.
It was built by aliens.
So they just move it. They move a little further
Yeah,
away.
they fly back to where it's supposed to be.
Oh.
Roland Emmerich believes some crazy stuff. Not the least of
Yep.
which is that William Shakespeare was not a real person.
I mean, just because he wrote that movie doesn't mean that he believes that.
No, he does.
Oh, okay.
To be clear. So yeah, they figured out
Um,
how to drive the moon back to where it's supposed to go.
because the thing is, I don't mind making a supernatural, but I still kind of want to. I don't want it to be a superhero movie, right?
Okay, that's
I don't
fair.
want it to be a. I don't want it to be Ghostbusters.
Okay,
Um,
perfectly fair. And I'm you have convinced me otherwise. We can leave these things as containable yet not personified
mhm,
threats. So then it's just a question of how do we do that, and we don't have to answer that right
Sure.
now, because introducing us to the unleashing of this thing being our like prologue to the movie. Even before then, we meet our heroic scientists and experts.
Mhm.
If you're thinking of the tropes of a disaster movie with just characters, or a character, you're Jeff Goldblum from Independence Day, who's trying to warn others about the disaster and is the one working towards like a viable solution.
Mhm.
Like and that's typical of several of these disaster movies. A lot of the Roland Emmerich library has the one brain that can that has the answer,
Sure.
and then always a
Well, I mean,
stepdad who dies.
not just Roland Emmerich. Sort of. He's right. He's the one doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Not just that, right? Like Twister. Looking at Twister, the way that resolves is tornadoes are still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, they defeat the villain, Carrie Elways, by beating him into the punch.
Yeah.
Or sort of. The tornadoes just, if I remember right, is just too much, and he's defeated and he leaves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, they're just too tenacious. There's just too much in their blood. They have to do this, even if it kills them.
They're so
To
extreme.
the point that they even see the eye of a tornado. They're in it, and ultimately they succeed because the whole goal was no one's ever to put it in simple terms in Twister. What they say is no one has ever seen a tornado, or actually they've seen it. So let's say documented.
Yeah.
No, that
truly understood a tornado.
yeah. And they've released their MacGuffin technology
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do so.
So similar to that, then we could have something here where it's like this is nature, and we're never going to defeat it. It will defeat us. So we just need to accept that we exist under the control and purview of nature itself. We need to stop fighting it and just accept that we've done this to ourselves. People are going to hate this movie.
Yes, they are.
We've done this to ourselves. We need to accept that we've crossed a threshold we can never return from, and these forces of nature is now, it is their planet and we just live on it. Is that where this ultimately goes? You're making a face. Jim
Yeah.
made a face audibly, folks. Okay,
I
well,
mean, and ultimately that's the Godzilla X Kong message as well. Well, not Godzilla X Kong, the one before that.
yeah, the
Because
yeah.
the messaging throughout that franchise is Godzilla is the monsters are the personification of nature, stomping things back the way they need to be. Godzilla is sort of
The
the
equalizer.
governor, the equalizer of all that. He kills monsters when they get too rowdy, but he'll also stomp out mankind when it gets too big. And in our current world, mankind is much too big. That's why Godzilla is not super friends with mankind in that franchise. That's sort of where we're going as well. We don't. I guess what is. And like I see why, like if we had a face to punch, that could.
Right, which is why I want to go to. But let's circle back to solutions here later. Let me.
Okay, you got to think.
Okay, so we have like heroic scientists. You had suggested that we also have wizards, monks, magi who show up as well, who are like, this is actually was that the word you're looking for?
Sort of. I hit upon a thing that I think may be a better direction for us to go.
Okay, hold that thought.
Yep.
I'll just say that we have our scientists, we have like our everyday brain, like the everyday schmoes. The scientist experts could be our wizard or wizards or witches of sorts who understand the supernatural quality of this, and our everyday heroes could be the boots on the ground storm chasers, and those are the two that need to work together. You had mentioned Carrie Ellis. The third type of character in disaster movies is going to be incompetent government people, like the people
Sure.
who have all the answers, have all the solutions, and are like wrong.
Sure.
And those are your three archetypes in a disaster scenario, in a disaster movie. You're going to be your heroes, your expert, like your everyday schmo, your expert scientist, and your incompetent government agent. And so we do have a face to punch. We could have a Carrie Ellis that's like trying to use some sort of science or throw a nuke in a hurricane kind of solution here, and that's who needs to be punched. But anyway, I just want to get that out there as character archetypes that are typical in here. We can come back to that. What did you would?
We don't go with these four elements. We don't. We could have the origin be related to climate change. It doesn't have to be. We can go. We can stick with the whole secret group of monks keeping this thing suppressed. And the thing they've been keeping suppressed is magic. Literally, our supernatural disaster is magic's return to the Earth, to the planet.
Okay, go on.
Period.
Lawn boss. Is
what I mean. So okay. So right. So our monks, they haven't been recruiting new people. Science has grown because magic is gone. Right. Magic is not in our world. It is a world of physics and science.
Yes. Yeah.
And all of that is because hundreds of years ago, this group of magi monks decided to consolidate all of magic into this one thing and cap it, right, and put a cap on it. And
it could be Atlantean.
Events. What?
Atlantean.
It could be. Yeah. And it something happens, and the last keeper dies, right? And there's no one there to replace them, and so there's no one there to maintain the cap on magic. In fact, that could have been done a while ago, and maybe it's this abandoned place, and the seal has physically corroded, and so it's now burst off, and magic returns to the earth.
So some contractor finds an old location that the lease of the land, the deed of the land is finally lapsed. No one is owning it. It's been this piece of land that people have had their eyes on for a century that's finally available. A contracting team gets in there, starts digging. They go too deep. The last of the protectors is gone, and a geyser of magic is released back into the earth.
That's a way to do it. I don't know if I like there being someone who actively caused it. That there. But that way we can have a disaster movie, and the way it ends, and yes, it's just this is how things are going to be from now on,
Yeah.
sort of, is think of it like a tidal wave, right? Magic has been suppressed and it's been under this pressure, and now it's released, and that's going to cause all sorts of supernatural
Yeah.
disasters
It's a tsunami
of magic.
of unnatural magic. Of
Yeah, which
unnatural. Yeah.
a natural power, a
Yeah.
natural
Yes.
energy, which is going to do all kinds of crazy things. It can cause actual weather disasters. It can cause tornadoes and hurricanes. Imagine a magical hurricane. That could be whatever you want. It could cause a massive wave of undead to arise. But ultimately, the disaster will follow our characters that are like we have to have the Dennis Quaid that was warning of the day after tomorrow, right? The guy who was like, we need to be aware, right? Our doomsayer, and so that's one of the characters we can follow. But ultimately, this will happen, and it will settle, right? Like it's rather than having the disaster be conscious in any way, which is right, having it be the four elementals, what would ever calm them down?
Right.
No
Right.
idea. And why wouldn't we try to fight them?
Mm-hmm.
By making it just this new power unleashed that our characters have to survive, and not tame fully. They're not going to tame it globally, but they're going to learn to tame it locally.
Okay.
Is my thought.
Okay. Do
That
you?
is very, very, very broad strokes.
That's okay. Do you? In this, I would want the magic that's unleashed to still be elemental. That the type of magic that exists is earth, wind, fire, and water based. That it's not Doctor Strange blasts of green and whatnot.
Okay.
That the well, I'm trying to stay true to the I'm trying to play with the demand itself, which is playing off of a natural disaster movie and making it unnatural. If your glum response there, it sounds like you're suggesting we take elements off the table and this is just a disaster movie involving magic.
Magic is the disaster.
Okay. Okay.
And I guess maybe I wasn't. I think that in doing that, in imagining a tsunami, a deep impact wall of magic sweeping across the world, it's going to have magical effects that are going to cause and can be elemental.
Okay. Is okay. Who's affected by this? Do people suddenly start manifesting magic? Is this our opportunity to make a better version of Bright? Like what?
Sort of.
Who suddenly has magic?
Think of this as a prequel to, well, not a prequel to Bright, because in Bright the world existed that way forever.
Yeah. Don't. I'm sorry you've even evoked
Yeah.
Bright, but just imagining magic existing with powers and whatnot worldwide. Suddenly, who has the magic? Where? What is this? Is it sprites running around? Like what? Is it similar to the unleashing of the containment unit of Ghostbusters? Like what is it? What do you? How is this magic manifesting?
A wizard did it, so it can be whatever we want.
Okay, well, then now you tell me what that is.
Sure.
What do you want it to be?
Right. If you want it to be Atlantean, like maybe that's actually why Atlantis sunk and or disappeared. Maybe, and that's maybe why it can't be found, because it didn't sink physically into this world. It sunk into this metaphysical plane where magic
Yes, I like that.
has been sucked into.
And they did it on purpose. It wasn't like magic crumbled Atlantis. That it basically as a failsafe did it, like hit the red button. They nuked themselves to fold Atlantis into
Suck up
nothingness.
all of the magic.
Yeah, like it was a last resort, end of the world option to cease it, and now Atlantis has been discovered and unleashed magic hell on the earth, and now magic now exists again, and I'm just wondering,
Yeah, keep going.
like if do people suddenly start having the ability to perform magic? Are there certain types of people who have had, and that can go to one of our like wizardy characters who's like, you don't understand, the people of Atlantis escaped and they have spread themselves genetically around the planet. there are people with a built-in genetic proclivity for magic that now have the ability to use it.
A part of me is like, yeah, of course, but a part of me also like that creates.
It just comes to the question of like, how is this magic manifesting itself?
Sure. Well, like I said, like it could be like how would you see it on screen?
Mm-hmm.
My first idea is literally imagine giant purple clouds whipping across the planet, a la a hurricane or storm
Mm-hmm.
or an aboob, that kind of. It's a real weather thing. Stop laughing. Um, and as it spreads across a space,
Mm-hmm.
like it starts with things like windstorms. These like so we can have a tornado, a magical tornado,
Mm-hmm.
and in that tornado could be whatever we want. We could put like demonic entities,
Okay. Yes. Yes.
or even like you could do something like the aftermath of a tornado comes to life itself, and now you have a destruction golem kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Like three
Yep.
houses have all smashed into each other and stand up, and there's now a monster that the local military has to shoot apart.
Okay. Yep. I'm liking this.
Um, it can like the storm whips across uh, uh, the San Andreas, and the earthquake that everyone even though the plates don't work this way, it's magical. So instead of just there being a 10.0, what the
Mm-hmm.
big one is it literally splits California off the continent and becomes the island of California,
Mm-hmm.
magically, as this giant chasm is
Ooh.
created and
Ooh.
fills
Okay.
with the
Oh,
ocean.
Jim, you
Um,
were onto something
uh,
here.
uh, uh, uh,
We you.
the magic whips across a forest fire in progress, and that
Mm-hmm.
forest fire comes to life.
Yes,
Um,
Jim.
we can do all of the natural
Mm-hmm.
disasters,
Mm-hmm.
but just fill them with magic.
This is like the opening of the movie, and then we can like if we can rain a fire this, we can jump ahead in time, and now maybe I'm going too far, and this should be contained within like Independence Day or Armageddon, where it's a close amount of days that unravel, and it begins and ends within a week or a series of weeks, or the Atlantis is rediscovered, all this magic is unleashed, we see all of this, and then the half-hour point of the movie hits, or 20 minutes in the movie hits, 15, and then it cuts to black, and it's like 30 years later, and this is what the world is like now after magic has been reintroduced to the world. Does that move too far away from a disaster movie?
I think that moves
Okay.
too far.
Okay, I'm going to remove that notion and now go to.
Although, just quick splinter, I think so. We got to see the fuck. I just had the name of the Yellowstone caldera. Is it just the Yellowstone caldera?
Oh, yeah.
The super volcano.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. We saw the super volcano in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
We might have seen it in another couple movies. I can't remember for sure. But what you just suggested, I think, could be a really interesting one. As neat as it is to see, like you can do as in the intro, you could do a movie with the super volcano erupting, and then you get to the movie of
The aftermath.
The aftermath.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that world, surviving in that world, would be a very interesting story. And we don't ever see aftermath movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be a cool one. I don't want to do an aftermath here. If
don't-
anything, this would be the first of a franchise. You can
yes.
turn it into that.
This is day one. This is a situation where like the impending doom of like we can get some sort of prologue that potentially shows the Atlantis hitting the red button and crumbling itself, sucking all the magic in.
I want to suggest a change to that.
Okay.
The change is it didn't go the way they expected.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to shield them from a
Mm.
disaster, and instead it was the reverse. It sucked in all the magic and killed them all.
Okay.
Because so when our characters want to go find out, oh, how do we deal with this? What do we do? They will travel to the source, and it is Atlantis.
Uh-huh.
Atlantis is back, and all the buildings are there, all their primitive yet futuristic technology is there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all gone and dead.
Mm-hmm. Just
No
an
survivors.
empty ancient city.
Yeah,
Yeah, with no sign of them at all.
correct. Because they're all dead.
Uh, Building, like having that prologue and then building up our the moment of the unleashing is essentially our act one, like our prologue and act one, to then boom, and it all comes back,
Mm-hmm.
and now the our experts and our everyday heroes are dealing with the incompetent government people to try to like, what do we do? What are the answers here? We need solutions here, people. We've got a freaking living tornado over here. We've got an earth. California's floating away. What are we gonna do? Like just the panic of it. The mass panic and chaos
Mm-hmm.
is definitely key in disaster movies.
Yep.
We get to see uh, like Armageddon in 2012, The Impossible. You had mentioned a tidal wave earlier, and I remembered that
Mm-hmm.
tsunami movie. Like, oh god, just like seeing the panic and the chaos and the spectacular destruction of all this
Yeah.
going on. This is all the trailer stuff where it's
Sure.
like, we're not blowing up the White House, we're blowing up everything. uh, Having that all, and then it becomes the race against time to contain it, or like there's a limited amount of time we have to contain all this.
I just realized where the direction we're gonna go. It's gonna feel like a combination of a goofy Roland Emmerich, Michael Bay movie.
Yes.
Because I think maybe what happens, we maybe allude to them in that first act, but in that second act, or maybe even near the end of the second act, when all the governments and emergency service people and all that, they're reeling. We don't know how to deal with a storm that literally bites you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like the crazy
The wizard.
the crazy doomsayer wizard
Mm-hmm.
like busts open the doors with like a contingent of 10 other wizards behind him and says, "We are your only answer," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a network of emergency wizards across the globe.
Oh God.
Something like that.
We can do
something,
better than that, but yes.
Or it doesn't have to be that. It could be like these are these are the wizards that we have ready. We are the Archmagus,
Ooh.
or Archmagi, and you need to take each of these individuals to these different points on the planet so that we can settle these
disruptions.
Yeah.
And I had suggested that there's a natural proclivity in some people on this planet for magic.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
And it's partially why I killed all the Atlanteans. I don't like. Maybe there can be some that could be a future. I don't like that. It feels in my mind right now that feels too superhero-y. It doesn't have to be couched
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
I should let you finish what you're saying.
Note taken. My intention.
Because you might explain it in a way that sounds freaking awesome. So I should let you do that. I'm going to do
my
that now.
intention behind it was that the wrong people given the fantastical heroic like nice way of like, oh, there's a young girl who has magic and she's the chosen one. Like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm more interested in like, oh, imagining a prison where two of those assholes suddenly have magic and now they can be bad guys.
Sure.
Like, I was thinking more of like if there were certain people on this planet that were suddenly given superpowers. I said it out loud, instead of magic. Yeah. We don't have to do that. Having the arc magi.
Okay. To what you said,
Mm-hmm.
it will be there. I don't think it should be a major plot point for this movie. Just for world building,
Mm-hmm.
the Magus can talk about. This is so much powerful, concentrated magic.
Mm-hmm.
Even normally, there are people who are touched.
Okay,
Literally call them the touched.
Okay.
So and we can see them become awakened.
Having just one of our normal scientist heroes, storm chaser types, have a conversation with one of the wizard types
Sure.
to say like, do you think I could teach me how to, like, well, there are people who might have an innate ability within them, but it would take a lot of training and maybe at some point you could access it. But now I don't have the time to teach you. And perhaps in the heat of the moment, in the finale, that normal character has a moment where they think they perform magic, but it's like not. Like they're like, oh, I made that thing move. I was standing behind you, kind of thing.
Sure, that could be fun. What I'd prefer to do for a character like that is have them go on a journey while this character's journey took 8 seasons. The fat guy from Game of Thrones. Tully?
Samuel Tully.
Samuel Tully, yeah.
Tarly.
Tarly.
Yeah.
Have that character be like Tarly. Like, he's looking in the correct books and he is learning the basics of it.
It's funny. He's the actor in Moonfall who ends up driving the moon because he always believed it. Okay, I want to take a break here. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back and keep developing this.
Okay.
This isn't like the most natural place to. One would almost
Is
say
it the most supernatural place?
more like an unnatural place for us to throw to a commercial, but that's what I'm going to do right now. So here's a few messages from 6'5 Media. Hey, you know what? While these commercials are playing, do yourself a favor. Drink a glass of water. It's good for you. That's it. That's just my PSA.
Good job.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Did you have water?
I had some water, yes. Okay. I want to forget all that.
What?
We're going to do a different movie. It's going to be called Bone Storm.
Bone Storm.
And literally the world of the dead has been full up, and a dead volcano rises up and blows the ashes of the dead across the entire planet, blotting out the sun with a cloud of dead bone ash.
Yeah.
And all the dead start rising.
Yeah.
And wraiths take over everything.
Okay.
And our characters have to shelter from these bone storms.
What is this? What is this?
It's a third idea. All right, so now that's 3.
Now the bone storm's out of the equation here.
Not out. It's in. It's number 3. Which one do you want to move forward with?
Oh my God! I mean, bone storm's fun. So let's talk about our unleashing magic situation here again.
Bone Storm already has a title. The other two don't.
God, now I just want to talk about Bone Storm. Oh man, Bruce Campbell's in this. Like, this is Sam Raimi directs.
Imagine all the skulls in the storm clouds.
I shouldn't have taken the break. You came back with the wrong ideas here. Oh
no. Back to magic.
Let me talk about some of the other tropes of disaster movies as I interpret them.
Mm-hmm.
I jotted a few down here.
Oh,
family drama. Roland Emmerich loves his family drama.
Mm-hmm.
But typically in here, there's family or some sort of, I guess this goes without saying because it's just natural storytelling, but drama within some sort of relationship. Like it's a subplot involving relationships and overcoming personal issues, and you have to unite to survive the disaster. I look to Independence Day, which is one of the best of examples of this. Of like we have Will Smith's character, and he's trying to find his wife and her kid, and we got the president and Jeff Goldblum and his dad. Like, there's some family drama to be had here, and I'm actually trying to think now if Twister has any family drama. I know that has relationship dramas because Helen Hunt doesn't like the extremes methods, but then they end up working together and saving the day.
Yes, the mother figure. I forget if she was related. She was related to Helen Hunt, right? Because Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, they were married, but they were just too much of a storm together. But they were always good together because when they then go to her house, that I believe that was Helen Hunt's mom's house, right? Mm-hmm. That gets hit by the big tornado.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the storm chasers are a family.
Okay. Fair enough. Family drama. The sacrificial hero, usually a character who sacrificed himself for the greater good. That's only in this movie is Randy Quaid a hero. Usually some moral lesson. We are very clearly coding this talking about climate change, which is real.
Well, the first one was. I'm less interested in maintaining
Well,
that
now it's metaphorical.
for the other two.
Now it's metaphorical.
Okay.
And usually some sort of romantic subplot, which Jim loves. Last minute rescue and rebuilding in hope by the end of it. This is typically some of the tropes of disaster movies, big and small.
And we can have them all.
We can have them all. I mean, easily we can have all these things, but really it comes down to we with this magic unleashed idea.
Yep.
The point of development here, and is usually the area of the movies we have to breeze through when discussing. It's the middle, like the running all over the globe, and these characters trying to figure out how to contain and destroy these things. Like how if magic is suddenly unleashed in a wave, and we have these manifestations of freaking Treebeard is tearing down New Jersey. We've got an earthquake monster that's like swimming away with California.
Sure.
A snow monster is attacking the Tibet. Like, what are our characters going to do here? Like with Armageddon, they train them how to get on the asteroid. They fly to the asteroid. Things go wrong until they have the last minute blow up the asteroid moment.
In one word, survive.
Survive. What are we going to do? Survive. Okay. Is that the end of the trailer?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? In one word, survive.
Yeah.
Bone Storm. Yeah. How do we defeat these things?
In that we need to look to natural disaster movies. Twister, they never defeated a tornado. The whole point was to see them, to study them, to ideally see them coming ahead of time in the future, to predict them.
Yeah.
It was never about defeating them.
Yeah.
Or at least not defeating them in a normal way.
Could it be then fighting these things?
I didn't see San Andreas. Volcano is it's a story about people. It's a story about emergency responders.
Yeah.
Responding to an emergency, and the extended cast about these people who had plans for one thing and they're dashed. And I'm trying to remember them all. I'm trying to remember why we hated the guy on the subway that then sacrificed himself by jumping in the lava to save the dog, I think.
Because he was so selfish and he was just a prick.
But what was he doing that was selfish?
Just he was only out for himself.
Oh, thank you.
He's just I'm going to survive this. I don't give a shit if any of you survive. Give me the water. I want the food. Get out of my space. I'm safe here. You go over there. Yeah, it was just like selfish prick stuff.
It was beyond that. He was a supervisor of some kind who was ignoring a thing.
You're remembering more than me.
Because then ultimately it was then about coordinating. Tommy Lee Jones was trying to coordinate enough people to like get like the lava's going down. I forget which boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard.
And we need to now divert it to get it, and then ultimately they divert it into the LA River.
Yeah.
And that's how they save the day.
So with this, if magic's everywhere, and it's like we are trying to defeat it, and there is no defeating it. So now it's a matter of like, just get out of its way. We can't keep that. You government idiots are trying to fire guns at magic. It's not going to work. Stop. You're actually making it worse by making the magic angry. Like we just need to get out of its way and give up. We have to just accept the fact that these are things we no longer have control over and get out of its way. Let the magic run rampant until it settles itself. Is that an answer to this?
That's an answer. I don't know if it's a good answer or a satisfactory answer.
Is getting to Atlantis in the third act, where we get to Atlantis, and now it's like, hey, the history has shown us that magic was contained once before. And it could be an argument of like, we don't want to contain it, we want to control it. That's the incompetent government people who are like, if we can figure out how to control it, we can use it. No, we need to go to Atlantis and stop it like they did last time. Oops, now we've discovered they didn't stop it. They thought they were going to control it like these government doofs. And we have to sink ourselves and this land again in order to suck all the magic back into its container. Put the genie back in the bottle.
See, I don't want to put the genie back in the bottle. I want them to
Well,
just survive it.
and I think surviving it's better, especially for franchise purposes. That
But also like in my other contention still with the Atlantis thing is that turns magic really what it is this is now a movie about surviving, uh, albeit magical, a nuclear blast.
or to stop the asteroid from hitting Earth, to use Armageddon terms or Deep Impact terms.
The reason I say that is because literally by making it Atlantis, the Atlanteans, it was a thing the Atlanteans did that turns it into a manufactured thing. Where right, it's not an inevitable bit of nature we were
Well,
messing with.
well, no, magic had run rampant, and it was everywhere.
Okay.
And the Atlanteans thought they could contain and control it, but ultimately they sunk themselves. They destroyed themselves. They contained it within a thing, and it led to their destruction. And now that has been unleashed, and magic is running rampant again. Our characters could believe if we go back to Atlantis, we can contain it just like Atlantis did. While the government thinks no, if we can control it, we can use it against each other. And our heroes could come to the conclusion of like, we could contain it like Atlantis did, which means destroying ourselves in the process. It'll just be contained again to be unleashed again later. These assholes are going to do that anyway. So we shouldn't contain it. We should blow up the one container. So it is running rampant. As sort of like the revelation in the end is, oh no, the actual answer here is to let magic win, to let the disasters win. And now we just have to live on an Earth where all this exists, and we can't even fathom controlling it because humans do not have the ability nor the power to actually contain this stuff. We need to let magic rule. And then they think they're okay. I've rambled enough.
It's good. It's good rambling.
If it's all building up to, we'll repeat what Atlantis did, and then it's like, no, we can't. It'll just happen again. The only way is to let the magic win. Let the disaster continue, and now we have to exist in this world with the mistakes we made as a people, because there's no turning back from the change within the climate of the Earth. You're cringing at my very heavy text.
Because the message of that heavy text sucks. No, but
it's a cautionary tale.
The thing is, well, no, because ultimately in the end, what it says is it's futility. Like, there's nothing we can do. We just got to let it be. And with as far as the analogy to climate change, we don't want to just let climate change be. We want to try to take the steps to reverse it.
Okay, then perhaps
which is why I like I like an Armageddon analogy somewhat. The difference there is that was even there they averted the disaster. It was we only got a few meteor showers instead of the full-on impact. Whereas Deep Impact, it was the hit. There was no stopping it. Like they failed to stop it. So I guess if that's the thing, the second act they do the plan to stop it. If they can't stop it, that's where the third act they have to go to the plan of just weathering the storm. That doing it that way, I think I don't mind it as much.
If weathering the storm,
what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if weathering the storm comes with, we can't just fix this. There's no just like throwing a switch and sucking it back in. Like that's not going to happen. We can make incremental changes within ourselves to deal with the consequences of these. So then it's more analogous to how do we deal with climate change. Climate change can't be fixed by throwing a switch. We have to make the little steps to deal with the consequences of it and make a better world as in a result of that.
Sure.
So then the analogy is more, hey, we made these mistakes. We can make steps to fix it, but it's not going to be easy. If we want to keep hammering the climate change analogy,
we can. I don't mind if we do or don't.
letting the that does come to a question of like, well, what's the if the second act is facing off against magic piece after magic piece, all this chaos and epic disaster stuff, what's the climax look like? What's the big like if the end of Act 2 and Act 3 is failing with Atlantis to realizing this is futile, like we can't do this again, then we move into a third act that this movie needs to this needs to resolve in such a way that's like the most epic part of this movie.
Okay. I think I'm going to give you your punches.
Oh, cool. Okay, go on.
So,
Ooh, I have an idea. Okay, go ahead.
and it's gonna. Oh crap! I wanted it to be more of like a natural unleashing, but I'm coming around to it being some selfish interest is what unleashes it, and the people that are there at ground zero, the unleashing of it, to nod toward the climate change thing. It is a series of corporate interests
Some
that are
Jeff Elon Zoses.
yeah that are there at ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
They unleash magic and immediately. So basically, in our first act,
Yeah.
in our inciting incident, we're gonna see these core people. We'll say 5,
Okay.
maybe 4, somewhere around there. People are instantly infused as the storm blows out, are infused with a ton of magic. They become essentially your personified elementals.
Okay.
And they could even choose a specific element, and they're all fueled by magic and an element. Or they're all just straight up mega liches, right? And so the third act is dealing with them.
Okay.
And then our arch magi can go up against these
Some
super liches.
Super liches. I like that. Okay. So giving us some. I know Empire or Return of the Jedi isn't the first movie to do this, but definitely like the most popular version of just saying like there's a 3-front situation happening here. There's the big battle, the smaller battle, and the smallest battle.
Okay.
So having the magic still running rampant around the earth and in various large forms and getting more angry and powerful because we won't leave them alone and just let them be is your pew 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 pew, and having also a we can punch a guy fight as well. You're coming on board for that with the suggestion of some super liches.
I think I am.
What about just one dude? Like at the center of Atlantis, the very epicenter of all this is some sort of infused entity being who's just like ready to that needs to be stopped.
Sure. How about this?
Okay.
It starts with 3, one for each act, or whatever. It starts with your handful, and we keep going back, and they are there at that original starting point, at ground zero, and they actually start fighting each other.
Okay.
And our archmages, when they meet up with our government people, they explain to the ones that will listen. No, so the reason that like the magic is spread and it's gonna be violent, right? Like it's a natural force being unleashed in ways that it had never before. Like imagine a tsunami 12 miles high. That might be too high. I don't know. Of spiritual energy, or well, no, that would lose people. Imagine a wave 2 miles high washing over every continent, and going faster than the speed of sound. That's what's happening, except that wave is made of souls. Not even souls. That suggests something. It's
entities.
Yeah. It's going to hit things in a metaphysical way. So it might knock them over physically, but it will also warp them in unimaginable ways. That's the word, unimaginable. Meanwhile, what's happening is at that source. That's the reason. And on top of that, this magical wave. It moved so fast. It gets across the globe. That doesn't have to be our whole movie. That could be the first act. And like, well, why is it still so wild?
Yeah.
Why isn't it settling the way you said it did? There must be not focuses. That's not the word I'd want to use. But essentially, they realize that there's these dudes, at the center that are intrinsically connected to it, and the magic still whipping about is
A result of
yes,
them as essentially batteries to this thing. They are
kind of,
powering it and
yeah,
keeping it pulsing.
sort of, yeah, and it's responding to their fighting. And as each one goes down, that magic power goes to the next, and soon, right. So this is what would rise to our third act. Soon, all of that magic is going to reside in one of them, and once that person, once that being is decided in their fight, the magic will be entirely under their control, and it will no longer be turmoil. It will be directed and malevolent.
Essentially, like where it would be Sauron. Like it
Yes,
is the power of all powers.
exactly.
Oof. This alters the course of the story, which is fine. I'm not against it, but having you suggesting that it basically comes down like a Highlander situation where it's like the power's running rampant. There's magic everywhere, but there's also these like batteries, these people who are able to harness it in such a way because they were right there when it was unleashed, and they are fighting each other
Until there's just one, and so then our archmages are like, crap, okay, we spread ourselves across the globe to protect as many people as we could. Now, government, get us all to this one place. And then we can have like a final showdown of this one Sauron evil wizard guy versus a dozen of these archmages trying to show up to defeat him.
Kick some ass.
But ultimately, it won't be to rebottle the magic. That's done. It's out.
It can't
It's just to prevent someone from wielding it.
Yeah. Having I'd like to go back to the notion of the initial thought is we can do what Atlantis did the first time and contain it, and then coming to understand, well, no, that will ultimately lead to destruction because they couldn't contain it. They incidentally contained it. They were trying to control it by putting it into a battery, and that's what folded them into the metaphysical earth, and it's been there until now it's been unleashed. For us to try to do that again, the realization is we're just setting ourselves up for this being a problem again in the future. There's an alternate idea here, and it's we can't contain it in one place. We need to spread it out. Right? Atlantis' original thought was like, oh, well, I'll contain it right here, and magic will be all right here for us to have and control. Oops, that was our undoing. We can't do that again. We have to let it spread. We can't let it be in one singular location. It has to be all over the world. So
Sure.
magic must exist everywhere. And no one thing or being or group of people can control it. It needs to be everywhere and everything.
Kind of, yeah.
Do you think, okay, if our characters come to that conclusion and then get to, say, Atlantis to destroy the containment, if the government's on their way there to utilize it, like, oh, we can contain it just like that, and our heroes are like, no, we must go there and destroy it, then getting there and discovering, oh, that thing we saw at the very beginning, those people that got the magic, that's the last one, like, to not reveal that there's a person there until the end. Like, the third act revelation is, hey, remember the beginning when we saw those four bonehead Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk types unleash this? They've been fighting each other the whole time. Surprise, there's one dude left there, or two left that are going to kill each other. that have been fighting this whole time. Now we must. Do you get what I'm saying?
No,
Suggesting?
you're saying one of them is an Atlantean?
No, 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 no. That we have our prologue, Atlantis.
Yeah.
Boom. Jump ahead thousands of years when we have these four assholes
Mm-hmm.
who unleash this thing
Yep.
and are at the epicenter and like, I feel the power. And then we spend this whole movie
Surviving disasters.
surviving disasters. Oh, we can contain it like Atlantis. No, we can't contain it like Atlantis. We have to blow it up before the government tries to do the same thing. We get to the location to blow it up, and oh, there are still these guys here. They've been here this whole time punching each other with magic.
Mm.
And then we have like, okay, you guys need to set this place up to blow up. We need to kill that dude. Hmm?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any objection to something like that?
Well, I wanted to watch these 5 evil undead wizards
Throughout the movie.
battle each other throughout the movie. Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely suggesting the opposite of
Yeah.
that we don't even know they are there until the end. So tell me that movie then. What's
I
your?
thought I did.
Do they just fight the whole time there, or do they spread out?
No, they fight the whole time there,
Okay.
and it's the magic is reacting to imagine the magic is a projection of their violence and anger.
Oh, okay. Check this.
I guess I'm explaining this.
No. If we were to script this,
Mm-hmm.
we would write those scenes. We would write them intermittently. We would keep coming back to these 5 assholes fighting each other.
Sure.
But in editing, all those scenes could be pulled out so that it is a revelation that they are still alive. We see them at the beginning, we see them at the end. So then it's an audible. We can decide in the edit whether or not we need to see these characters intermittently because they aren't essential to telling this story. They are an element of this.
Sure.
They're not the main characters.
I think so.
Yeah. So we could write it with going back to them 5 or 6 times over the course of the film, but we could also remove all those scenes and just use that revelation in the end because our other characters, will discover them when they get there. The audience knows they are there, but our characters don't know they're there until they show up.
Okay.
Right? So then you could construct this movie in such a way where we do get to see those scenes and allow that to have like an omniscient perspective for the audience to see everything over the course of the film. We get to see all these story elements all at once. It'd be basically like if there are scenes from Independence Day that show the aliens constantly.
Kind of.
Yeah. You can remove those. You have one type of movie. You put them back in. You have another type of movie.
Sure.
Okay. We both win.
Win-win.
Okay. Are you burning out?
Sort of. I think so. I'm trying to hold this whole thing in my head and see if it works.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it does. That's the problem.
Well, this is huge. This is a lot. This is definitely Roland Emmerich's name has been evoked dozens of times so far in this episode, and it does feel like this does feel like the type of movie he would put together with all of its insane chaos. Does that make for a good movie? Does this? Therein lies the question.
It makes for a type of movie, which I think it has a quality of its own, and that is the spectacle.
Yes, this is certainly a spectacle movie. I'm willing to stop right here as far as this story is concerned.
Okay.
If we want to set that aside, and you want to pitch
I came up with Bone Storm more as a joke to kind of tease you. Like,
let's just do this real quick then. Let's set this gigantic Michael Bay movie aside for a moment.
Okay.
And let's look at Twisters. Like go back to the first thing I think you joked about. Twister, but it's a witch. A witch is responsible.
Did I say that?
I think I seem to remember you saying it's Twister, but a witch is responsible.
Sure.
So it's storm chasers, inexplicable tornado alley. The tornadoes are getting worse and more out of control. The storm chasers cannot figure out with all their science, what's happening here. And lo and behold, it's not science that's the answer. There's literally a weather witch that is just tossing tornadoes at people because she's pissed off. An ancient Baba Yaga, Frau Totenkinder, who has just mad at the world. It's like, tornado this way and tornado that way. Bring me your children so I may eat them. I make candy houses. In the end of our episode here, I'm throwing a fourth idea out there.
You're not letting me get away with Bone Storm.
No, I just said I'd
No,
go back to Bone Storm.
what I mean is you're hitting me back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, having something more like trying to think of a comparison here.
Drag me to hell, but she's cursing everyone.
Hey, there you go. I said Sam Raimi could do this.
Well, you said witch, so that's why I was thinking that.
Tornado Witch. Twisted Witcher. She's not going to take it anymore. We don't have to go there. We can. I hate to fizzle out here.
Yeah.
Which is what we're risking doing right here.
I think I'm burning out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm running low on ideas.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to do a quick little couple-minute recap here, okay? We, ancient times, thousands of years ago, Atlantis thought they could control magic. They thought they could contain it and then use it for themselves selfishly. They were going to be the holders, like literally the Druids and the Aboriginals in Australia and the first Americans, all their magic is stolen by the Atlantans and put into a containment unit that they think they can control, but it ultimately leads to their destruction, and they are sucked into the metaphysical space between spaces and vanish from the face of the earth along with magic. Thousands of years later, that space is unlocked by some selfish developer, explorer, rich dicks who...
really, the best way would be a project co-headed by several major conglomerates.
Yeah, they are just, they found a location. They think they're going to make some sort of arc utopia, their society, so on and so forth. They unleash this magic. Magic geysers forth. Atlantis resurfaces. Magic tears across the earth. Earthquakes become personified. Firestorms grow demonic faces. Magic just tsunamis around the earth, and chaos ensues. We've met some scientists who were warning these rich assholes. We meet some. We have hints of the magi, the arch magi, who protected this space, freaking mummy style. They've been watching this space, and they couldn't do anything about it. And now our government is trying to control this to stop these outbreaks of magic. Our magi are trying to do so. Our scientists are trying to do so. Through history and exposition, they realize the only way to solve this is to return to the source, which was Atlantis itself. Go back to Atlantis, and they tried to do this before, and they succeeded. They contained all the magic in one space. So we can do that and return Earth to status quo. Government hears that and thinks, ooh, if we contain all that space, all that magic in one space, we can use it as a weapon, and we can rule the world. We're evil government. It's a race to get there. The heroes get there first. They discover, through more exposition in history, oh no, this was their destruction. We can't have magic all in one space. It needs to remain spread across the whole planet in order for us to survive this. Okay, let's destroy this. They get down to the center place. Oh, these guys have been fighting each other the whole time. Sorry, I went with my version instead of yours.
That's fine.
There's two of them left, and there's the remaining ones are all strewn about and ripped to shreds, and they look like spaghetti people, Wanda style from Multiverse of Madness. Okay, we need to blow up Atlantis so no one can contain this, and we need to stop one of these guys before one of them has all the power, because whatever the case, magic cannot be in one singular spot, whether it's in a person or in a container. We need to keep magic spread across the earth. So blow up Atlantis, kill that guy, magic wins, Earth, essentially has to deal with the new status quo and make incremental changes over time in order to exist in a world that now has this in it. Our allegory for climate change works. There you go. Twisted Witcher.
That's a good first outline.
First outline, okay. There's
we would need like
we need characters. We don't have characters. This is all plot.
Yeah. There's a mom somewhere. There's two lovers separated by disaster that must find each other.
Must find each other. One of the
how definitive I'm being with characters.
Amidst the heroes, there's a betrayer who's actually working for the government. In the government, there's actually a betrayer who's working with the heroes. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Mass panic and chaos, spectacular destruction, a race against time. One of our heroes sacrifices himself. They survive against the odds. They learn a lesson. A last-minute rescue and rebuilding and hope in the end. Disaster movie. Magic. What do you think, Jim?
I think we need more than an episode to beat this out proper.
Really?
Yeah. I'm only feeling like 75% the way there.
You really think like a whole, like we would need twice as long of an episode to beat this out?
Partially, right? Because honestly, we're still working out sort of some of that outline, and then we have none of the characters, nor what they're going to do or their arcs.
I'm tempted. There's two movies I'm tempted to just take and template. Twister itself, since that's what evoked all this, and Independence Day. Like taking those two movies and just going, all right, Twister, here are the plot beats. Now, how do we contain our magic storm within these plot points?
Sure.
Independence Day doing the worldwide version of magic. I'm tempted to take Independence Day, go boom, here's our scientist, here's our leader, here's our weirdo character, here's the leading up to the event and the aftermath of it. I think those two movies, depending on the scope, would be the perfect templates.
It's just occurring. So if we were to do Twister, you very quickly montage or even text crawl in the beginning where we're past the initial return of magic, and it just now when magic goes through this area, it like there are essentially magic storms that occur, and there are people who chase these magic storms, and like pretty much then drop the Twister template on it. So don't. It's not a Roland Emmerich and the disaster starts movie. It's more. Here's a phenomenon, a disastrous phenomenon that our characters are attempting to wrangle in one way or another.
Understand, chase. Yeah. I think there's the idea of storm chasers chasing down magic storms. I think is a fun way to approach it.
I agree.
The Independence Day model would definitely be much more worldwide, like a whole ensemble of characters, and then that will last a check.
And now thinking about that, like I guess that ultimately, like during the episode, I guess that was sort of my stumbling block, is I wasn't thinking in a template like that, because now thinking, okay, if we're going to do Independence Day, so the storm erupts. I actually don't care too much about the origin of it, but it's erupting and it's spreading across the globe, and we hit the same beats of the ships being over the cities, in that there are the people that were at the origin that are now all of these evil touched ones. There are enough of them for each major city, and they're spreading across the globe. And when they're touching down, they're not just, it wouldn't be the equivalent of they're just hovering there innocuously until they do something. It's
it's happening.
This wrinkly monster showed up, and he's making more monsters. It would be happening in the cities and spreading from there.
Yeah, and then using Independence Day as your. I mean, I'll use his name one more time. Emmerich's been using Independence Day as his template for every movie since he made that movie.
If they keep greenlighting his movies to do it,
keep doing it, dude. Yeah. Live your life, fella.
I'll keep copying whatever movie we get that finally busts through to that.
Hell yeah. Die Hard with Scooby Doo. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
How about this? We can keep talking now. Normally, I would say we'd end here and throw
No,
it
no.
to.
I think this is good. I want to know. I think this is good for a first pass.
Mhm.
I want to know what Imminent Ruage
Yes,
thinks.
yeah. Tell us, imminent.
Did we go the completely wrong direction? Do you like this direction? And not just not just the studio demanding it. What about the rest of the listeners? What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Was not going the Bone Storm direction our fatal error?
Well, here I'll do some outro stuff. We'll talk Bone Storm right now. If you wanna hash out some of those details, Jim is right. Let us know how we did. Agree, disagree. What did we miss here? These are some broad strokes. We didn't do much characterization at all. This is very much a plot structure here. Usually we kind of latch on to two characters, to something, but I think that's the nature of disaster movies. They are so spread out. There's such an array of characters. Going to Twister,
Usually,
usually Twister is
an exception,
is the
yeah.
exception. Volcano, Dante's Peak, The Impossible. Looking at some of those movies, they're much smaller in their disasters. We could not have this tear across the earth. We could limit this to just a location.
I mean, ultimately, though, most of them are usually about family in one way or another as well.
We could take this whole gigantic magic takes over the world and shrink it down to a city. That this takes place in Northwoods, Wisconsin, and House on the Hill.
Got to be New York.
House on the Hill. No, you're always mad that it's New York.
I know.
We could put this in some remote location, and the magic unleashed is unleashed in a much more contained. I said Northwoods, Wisconsin, just because that's us. Putting it in Alaska, or putting it on. We could go The Thing, and it's in Antarctica, and we can't let it get mainland. That the disaster here is much more contained into a singular place with a much smaller amount of people dealing with it now, and not letting it get worldwide. We could even go so far as to maintain the exact plot we just laid out, limit it down to characters to represent each one of those archetypes, having the government the Paul Reiser trying to, I could capitalize on this. Oh, my business. Having our heroes be Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt and their team of 6 or 7 characters like Philip Seymour Hoffman, while another group led by Cary Elwes and his dopes are trying to harness it. We could take our entire plot and shrink it down. Does that tickle your fancy, Jim?
It doesn't.
Okay. Okay, listeners.
As far as shrinking it down, I would rather do the disaster, and instead of dealing with the whole of it, just have that be the backdrop to then like picking, I don't know, like a town in the middle of New Mexico or something, and then like, so this town has to deal with seemingly right, dust storms, but then also wailing shades whip through town.
Well, going back to
and stuff like
Bone,
that.
Bone Storm.
Yep.
Having Bone Storm like a desert town.
Sure.
How go? Let's
what
play.
What
with
would
that.
I do?
Let's play with that.
Bone
for a second.
Storm.
Yeah.
Bone Storm. It would be the that great death explosion basically blots out the sky. The sun is just a blur of a light.
Yeah.
During the day, and essentially a not quite ice age falls.
A dark age.
A dark age
Yes.
falls, and the dead rise intermittently and predictably across the globe, in all kinds of ways. Everything from your standard shambler zombie up to like bone knights on undead steeds, to even larger
Emotep
things
Yeah.
crawling across the landscape,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be as small as following anything from like A Quiet Place, where we're following a family, like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
a small clutch of people.
While the world is facing this,
Hmm.
we are experiencing it through a very small group of people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we can see things like, oh, we see a bunch of fighter jets were scrambled, and they're fighting some winged Nazgul looking things
Yeah.
off in the distance over the mountains over
Mm-hmm.
there. To get an idea that parts of the world still exist and are going on,
Mm-hmm.
but we're just going to deal with this community here. Hell, even the movie Legion kind of goes into that, although they suggest it's more happening there because
Right,
there's a
right.
whole
Mary. Yeah,
prophecy
yeah.
thing. Um,
But that's a
but
that's
something
a
like
that's
that,
a that's a fair comparable.
yeah.
Having let's say okay, let's say a small desert town. Let's I'm gonna try this. Outside Las Vegas, there is an area that has in a desert that has been utilized for several decades to dispose of bodies.
Okay.
So essentially, like a mass graveyard,
Mm-hmm.
and the Joe Schmo Goomba who just the garbage man
Mm-hmm.
goes to the same cafe every day, like that small community town. He's just some guy who, oh, he's a made man, like he's the grave digger, and then while the earth is facing off against these entities, all those mass graves,
Sure.
like that's what they're facing off against is the rising of decades worth of mafioso.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, and then
Actually, another, not related to Bone Storm, but another supernatural disaster occurred. I was thinking about it actually last week. The idea of, I love the world of the Mist that's suggested in the Mist,
yeah,
but
that's why we just
it's
brought up the
driven
decision.
back. It's driven back by the. It's all resolved basically
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the one movie. I would love
Oh,
a world that takes place in a thing like that.
yeah,
These
yeah, yeah.
unknown the natural the storm, the weather part of this
Mm-hmm,
disaster
mm-hmm.
was this unstoppable mist
Yeah,
rolling through, and
having
now we follow a community that's not that original one.
right. Having your bone storm
Yeah.
eruption happen instead of covering the earth, having it be a mist that is rolling around the planet and just hits places, and it will like it landed on New York and stayed there for 6 months, and then the storm rolled away, and then it hovered over Lake Michigan for 2 weeks and then rolled away, and you never know where it's going to roll next, and so
Oh, sure, that could be
the
cool.
world is afraid of this supernatural cloud or
Hmm.
clouds
Sure.
that have been spreading around the earth and just move and go, like these strange changes in the climate that
Hmm.
are affecting places that were never affected before. Having a small community, desert community, Northwood community, like
Hmm.
flyover country, that is now going to be the latest victim
As it passes through
the bone storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's just survive the night,
Yeah.
survive the week, survive the 30 days of dark. The rolling dark age. No, it's a terrible title. The roaming dark age. No. Bone storm.
You know what's really good?
Yeah.
The Mist.
The mist is really good. So if anyone takes anything away from this episode, you should watch The Mists. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No. No. There's.
That's the Thomas Jane one.
Yeah.
I always forget the Fog and the Mist. I like conflate the two, but
Yeah.
it's Frank Darabont, The Mist,
Correct,
Thomas
yeah.
Jane, one of the most, dude,
Yeah.
goddamn.
Um, I like the world that's presented there,
Mm-hmm.
and to create a more pervasive one would be cool, and
Bone Storm.
I would do something like that with Bone Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's several ideas thrown out there.
yeah.
So, what do you all think? You can message us directly at studiodemandsit.com, on Instagram at studiodemandsit. If you're not already, you can subscribe to us on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts. And if you feel like giving us a little review, that don't hurt none, getting us out there into the algorithm, and you can do it in your app. You can find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we post video content. including material not heard here on the show. Jim, where else can people find
You
us?
can also come continue the conversation with us on Reddit, r/studio demands it. There's no .com there.
Yeah.
There's just r/studio demands it, or on our Discord, which you can get the invite to by going to our website, studiodemandsit.com. Discord link is right there in the middle at the top of the site.
Yeah.
And come say hi there.
Come say hi. And some of you over the seasons now, you've been sending some great demands, but your demands are so elaborate that they're essentially you pitching a movie to us for us to discuss. There's no better place to have that conversation with us than on Reddit
Sure.
and Discord.
Yeah.
Because you've already got the great idea.
You've fulfilled the demand.
You've fulfilled
and
demand.
we
So
can
we
we can judge from on high. No.
we could join you in expounding upon it. So
Yeah.
massive thank you to 6.5 Media for everything they do for us. So go ahead and check out the other 6.5 shows. And if you want even more, we have a Patreon for a couple bucks a month. You can get episodes early as well as extended length episodes, double length episodes. We did a whole half hour before this episode that you can hear on Patreon where we discuss formative television shows.
Yep.
So a whole half hour about what were the shows that defined us or defined me. Jim couldn't think of any other than
None.
the theme song to Three's
Nothing
Company.
defined me.
We also have movie commentary tracks over there. And if you just want to subscribe for free, you can do so as well over at Patreon. Jim, unless you have anything else.
I don't think so.
I think that's going to do it for the episode proper here, but I do want to keep the mics rolling because I want to continue to discuss some of this unnatural disaster stuff that we've elaborated on here. Something that people can hear over at Patreon.
Okay.
Push it real good. Okay, anyway, that's it for this episode. We will be back again to take on one of your demands and challenge ourselves to improve the world of cinema. I'm TC.
Jim here.
Stay safe. Be kind to yourselves and others. Thank you, everyone.
Watch out for that bone storm.
Bone storms ready.